drama? You got the drama. Yes, girl, bring on the drama!
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. And today, I am your host, my Patience, and we have with us two powerful guests that have been here numerous times to talk about October 1st, especially the President's address. Let me first begin by thanking all our valiant fighters, our ASA. Let me extend warm greetings to our refugees that are all over the world, and also to all Amazonians, wherever you reside. We want to thank you for always being here to listen or watch The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. This has been a special week. On October 1st, we celebrated our Independence Day. But before we delve into this matter, into this topic, please welcome two dynamic ladies, Dr. Winnie Lobati, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, to the Horizon, and Dr. Yaya Fonye, the Chief of Staff of the Government of Amazonia. Welcome to the Horizon, ladies. Thank you for being here. I will start with you, Winnie. You can address and greet our listeners and viewers, and then Dr. Yaya, you follow suit.
Thank you, my Patience. I hope my sound is getting clear and loud and you can hear me. Thank you. I want to wish a belated Happy Independence Day to all our viewers. If you didn't celebrate it, it's not too late. Just join us today on this program. You will get a gist and you will enjoy it. So thank you for having me here or having us here. And thank you, viewers, for keeping us in your homes and being part of the show.
Thank you so much. Dr. Yaya?
Thank you once again, Ma Pei, to have us on this very important program, The Horizon, the voice of the Amazonian woman. It's always a pleasure, I say, to be with you great ladies. I always learn a lot, and you're my idols in this struggle, in case you didn't know. So thank you for being the role model, not just for me, but for so many women. And I must say, even from back home, I do get a lot of feedback. Sometimes I forward them to MAPE. Today we actually had one. We have one of our sisters. There are about 2 or 3 of them. You know, they do like basic farming, but they always watch the Horizon, or at least their husbands, and they give us feedback. They will tell us, "Oh, that was good. Oh, you girls look beautiful. You girls are well dressed," and it is just encouraging. I was quite surprised. She told me that the lights went off actually on our Independence Day. But her statement was, Amazonia is free. She didn't say shall be free, but is free. So when we get this feedback from those on the ground who feel the pinch, I mean, what should we say in the diaspora? So this is celebration time. Amazonia is truly free. It is just a matter of consolidating our victory. So thank you, fellow viewers. And in case you're wondering why we're not in our amber colors, I'm sure Mape is going to let the cat out of the bag anytime soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. I will towards the end of the program. But let me say that um, we want to talk about the president's address to the nation. The president addressed the nation on our Independence Day, October 1st. And remember that it was 63 years ago, on October 1st, 1961, that we were declared independent by the United Nations. And then 7 years ago, on October 1st, 2017, we declared our independence again, because remember, we had been in this fake union with La Republic for such a long time that on September 22nd, 2017, everybody came out from all the villages, all the towns, everywhere to say enough is enough. We want our freedom. We're taking our land back. And that was that Revolution Day that we witnessed 7 years ago. But let's go straight into the president's speech. The president had a great speech that covered a wide, extensive number of topics, ranging from our resolve as a people that has not wavered, to talking about what the international community is doing so far, talking about where we started, how we got to this place in the first place by addressing some of the historical aspects of our journey. So let's start this conversation, ladies. And I think the best way for me to really have you talk about this, because basically I want you guys to really explain what you heard, and even put a little bit of spin on it so that our people can understand and follow exactly what the president said. Um, in his beginning address, he started by saying that he greeted the people, said that it is heartwarming to see that despite the many trials and tribulations we have faced, our resolve remains unbroken, and our resolve for self-determination unshaken, knowing that our suffering today cannot be compared to the glory of freedom before us. I think that was a great introduction. I just want you guys to talk about this. Mawini, you can start, and then Dr. Yaya, after you give your own, what you felt when you listened to this beginning of sentence by in the president's address. Pardon me.
Actually, when I heard that part, it reminded me in the book in the Bible, the book of Hebrews, where he said Moses did not choose to enjoy the pleasure of Egypt, but rather he chose to suffer with the children of Israel so that they could get their freedom. That's me paraphrasing. But you know what was so unique about this is, first of all, the reason we have a government in diaspora was because of the tenacity and the resolve of the people back at home front. Because if they did not stand, we will not have a platform to stand on and move on to become the voice that their voices, because now all we are doing is amplifying and echoing their voices, their desires, their aspirations. So when the president is saying that that suffering that we are going through today it may seem hard, but the fruit of freedom will be much sweeter, because when we come out of it, we will treasure, we will enjoy it, and we will protect our freedoms and human rights, and we will not let somebody deceive us again, because we'll be able to value it, because it's been watered with the blood of thousands and thousands of our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, grandparents and children.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yaya. What is your spin on that introductory statement from the president?
Yes, I think Mawini laid that out very nicely. My take on that is that we should focus on the goal and not the journey. Of course, the journey, it could be tiring. We could get tired and weary and start whining and even questioning why we started this in the first place. We've seen that in history. The Israelites went through that, and so, as a leader and as a visionary leader who is quite focused and knows exactly the job that lies ahead, his duty or the challenge for him is to manage the people, which is us, to manage our emotions so that we don't focus on the suffering, but look at the big picture, which is our freedom. You know, freedom is not free, as we know, so there's a price to be paid, and that price is the suffering that we're going through now. I mean, it just encompasses what life is about. When we have plans in life, we want to be this or you have a project or you want to pass an exam, there is the toiling that needs to take place. So you need to actually sit down, put in the hours, and work for the good results. Unfortunately, this is slightly different because the suffering could be avoided if we had an opponent who was understanding enough to come to the table, because it's going to end on the table anyway. But it is what it is. So we are focused on seeing a free Amazonia, which is that dream come true and worth the ultimate sacrifice. And that has sadly costed more than 60,000 lives, but they have proudly and honorably done so.
Yes, absolutely. And just to make one comparison, it's just like a pregnant woman who is going to give birth. During
Yeah.
the birthing period, you're in so much discomfort and pain, but after that baby comes out, you don't remember anything. That's one way
Right.
of saying it. I
Yeah.
thought I should just throw that in. Okay, when we continue with
And
this
Mate,
speech,
yes, I
yes,
wanted to I was looking for a verse as well, since Mawini started with the Bible, but unfortunately
yes.
I'm still a scholar. Yeah, there's this saying, I don't know if it's a Bible verse. It is actually a verse, yeah. Weeping may come,
May
but joy
endure
comes
for
in the
the
morning.
night. Yes.
Exactly, man.
Yes.
So that's that scenario. I think the president is trying to play out. So let's be hopeful. Let's stay focused. And whenever we think we're tired, want to get weary, think of a free Amazonia, not just for us, but for our future generations. It is worth the sacrifice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and then he continued by saying exactly how this all started. He talked about our people just trying to ask for simple justice and equality, and what met them was and what is still going on now is a government of La République du Cameroon that has decided to kill and maim us and call us secessionists and call us terrorists. So it's just too much to read everything, but I'm going to read one section that is on this particular subject of how it started. He said, their strategy of trying to label our struggle as secession or terrorism was a desperate attempt to obscure their crimes against humanity committed in our homeland. The regime has spent millions on media buying and lobbying whitewash efforts to whitewash its terrible image and cover up their crimes committed against innocent Amazonians. So he's telling us what we wanted in the first place: justice and equality. I don't know if you guys want to just address that briefly. Start with you, Dr. Yaya, because we also have to go from where we started, how we got here, to where we're going to.
Sorry, the question again, Mape.
So the question is, the president is trying to tell us that this started from somewhere. It didn't just happen overnight. It started from us asking for justice and equality. Remember when the teachers and lawyers went on the strike? So
Yes,
just briefly
sure.
give us that basic history so that people remember. We always have to teach our people so they don't forget. So I just want you to go back a little bit, and then Mawini will comment a little bit on that also.
Oh, I'm so blessed to have Mawini here who can help me in case I have my facts mixed up. I mean, this is recent times. I think 2016, the late months of 2016, this agitation started. But I believe, like in the last program, Mawini actually said, this has been a chronic thing that happens in cycles, has been suppressed over time, which was all the deliberate act by the oppressive regime of La République du Cameroon to make sure that they knew from day one that there was supposed to be an uprising because they didn't keep to the terms. So anyway, over the years, we've had these kind of little agitations that have been kept under control through so many different brutal ways, be it arresting people without any cause or whatever they use, their system that they've put in place to intimidate people. So 2016, the lawyers and the teachers rose up, to peacefully. They protested for their basic systems to be maintained because that was the agreement as at the time of the two uh, uh, parties, if I may say, coming together. They were supposed to be equal partners, maintaining their institutions. But over time, La République, in its plan of assimilation, has systematically destroyed most of our institutions. And of course, they had gone as far as the educational system and the system, the justice system in our, which was the English law. Anyway, I don't have the details, but they were protesting peacefully, and it escalated into the army or the La République soldiers being acting overhandedly towards a peaceful protest, and that then resulted, I believe, in actually just erupted into this revolution. I don't think anyone planned. Nobody knew that this was going to turn to this. And then one thing after another, and it just built up. And which is why we say it is a God ordained revolution. Mawini, I'm sure you help more with that.
Yes, go ahead, Mawini.
Oh yeah, thank you. The issue of justice and equality, that was the foundation that the United Nations actually did lay. That for these two people, first of all, let me just even backpedal. It was unjust. The United Nations actually violated its own resolutions by forcing us and claiming that we were small and we couldn't sustain ourselves as a nation, because that was one of the things that they wrote, that no nation should be denied independence because of their size or their economic status. But the British, being our protector, or let me, because we were a protectorate territory under the British, they pushed that we could not survive. That's why Northern Cameroons, which are part of us, were forced to vote and they opted to join Nigeria. And that's why Nigeria remains a federated state, because then each of those states would maintain their own place and identity. But and then on our part, the Southern Cameroons chose and voted because of their experiences that they had had with Nigeria. They felt that the unknown angel that you see may be worse than the so-called devil that you think you have experienced. That was how we fell into this trap. But notwithstanding, having equality and justice was a paramount, or was the eroded foundation that La République completely eroded. One, dismantling our institutions, our parliament or a house of assembly, dismantling our government, and then slowly, if you guys remember, we heard about Makizas, UPC. Our people did not really understand that those were true patriots of La République du Cameroon that wanted true independence for their nation. And when they fled into our territory, we gave them refuge. However, when they came back, when we went back, La République felt like it was almost like they had reconquered their own citizens that had fled into our territory. And so they were trying to treat us. It's funny because for within their own legal system, when you are arrested, you are guilty by arrest and you have to prove yourself innocent. On the contrary, our judicial system says if you are accused of something, the government, it's incumbent on the government or the prosecutor to prove you guilty. It is not incumbent on you to prove yourself innocent.
Innocent.
So, with those two laws that were clashing, of course, the their laws superseded and took over, and now we kept having our people arrested. If you wanted to, Albert Mukong, so many people were arrested and many of them perished. But we want justice. But little did we even understand our history. So fast forward, um, I had talked about the SDF launching and how people perished. But and then the formation of the SCNC and Sako and other alphabet organizations within our territory that were all fighting for the restoration of our statehood. Let me put it that way. What really ensued in this 21st century is which started 8 years ago, is the fact that peaceful protests. I was not surprised because when SDF was formed and launched, I was in Bamenda and 6 people were killed that day. And they lied 2 days later that there were 2 or 3 people were trampled on. They were shot with live bullets. So when that peaceful demonstration would happen and people were just mud, like it was like there were grass that you pass a lawnmower on, and it was from both above helicopters and the military BIR in their gears killing people. I was not surprised. I remember telling my husband, I have already crossed the Mongo River. I'm not part of this anymore. And so justice, but then I dug deeper and started reading our history. I even
Right.
went to look at some information from the United Nations archives to know about us. So we are a people, we are a nation, we had our own government, legal, education system, and we had a culture. And that was robbed, we were robbed of it, denied our history, and here we are today. We are being killed for knowing our history, standing for our human rights, standing for our statehood, standing for justice, standing for our educational system, our legal system, and all the rights that we have as a people. We are being killed, being locked up, being targeted to be just decimated, to kill, push our people out of the land so that they can push themselves into our territory and become like, okay, this is our land. No, it's not going to
Right.
happen. We know who we are, and we know the custodia of our land. You can try to bribe as many chiefs and funds as you want. It's not going to stand.
It
You
will
took
not stand
60 something.
at all. It will not stand at all. So both of you have basically just described the proximate cause of the war, because basically it was really the teachers and lawyers that went on the strike, and then things erupted from there. But the next part of the president's address is talking about the root cause, which Winnie has brought a little bit into what she said. But I'm going to read it and then give Dr. Yaya an opportunity to say something before Winnie, because this was really the real beginning of the nightmare when you go back to 1961. And I'm just going to read a section of it because I don't want to read the whole paragraph. The president saying that we didn't get here where we are now because we asked for it. Basically, in a speech that Ahidjo addressed the United Nations in 1961. That's the section I want to read, and I'd like you guys to listen carefully, and because I'm going to ask you to talk about it. I said, the two territories, so this is Ahidjo addressing the United Nations in 1961. And I quote, "The two territories will be united, but they will maintain their respective institutions. The Southern Cameroons will keep its own administration, its own parliament, and its own laws." Quotation closed. He literally made a vow before the world leaders. When he added, quotation, "We have promised and we solemnly reaffirm that the institutions of the Southern Cameroons will be respected. We will not annex the Southern Cameroons," end of quote. But instead of keeping their word, Mr. Biya recently told us that they sought to annex us, erase our identity, and transform the Union of Equals to conquest. So Ahidjo, in one address, is telling the United Nations that we will be autonomous bodies doing our own stuff, La Republic doing its own stuff, Southern Cameroon or West Cameroon doing its own stuff. And then Biya, so many years down the road, during the Paris Climate Conference, telling the world that they try to make us be part of them, to assimilate us, but so briefly, what do you want to add to this, or is there any thing you want to share that may be a little bit different from what the president said? Dr. Yaya, start with you, please.
I think it's so clear. They've spelled it out. It sounds like a marriage vow, and it even goes beyond that because it sounds like even going to details. What do you call this thing? Prenup, exactly. Not just saying we want to be together, but actually stating the details because interesting. This is quite detailed. The two territories will maintain their institutions. That is so blatant, it's very clear. Southern Cameroons will keep its own parliament, its laws, and then we have promised. Yes, there's even the word promise. I heard solemn as well. So that is actually a vow. It's a covenant that they have broken, from the start, and that they shall not annex Southern Cameroon. I find that interesting. To me, if two people are coming together and you already have such clauses, it means it's already a thought through process. Why is it one side saying that we will not do this to the other side? If we are equals, Southern Cameroon should have had such clauses to say we shall not annex La République du Cameroon, we will not annex this and that, they will maintain their laws. So already we came into an agreement of so-called justice and equality being the common denominator already from an inferior position, because you can clearly see here La République is acting as a superior power. The law should have been no party is supposed to annex the other, not saying we shall not annex them. We could also say we will not annex La République du Cameroun. So to me, it was a premeditated act, and they tried to hide their intentions by making some flowery laws that they never kept to, and it is blatant dishonesty, hypocrisy, and theft.
Absolutely. My Winnie.
It's I laugh at that because I think the president of Nigeria too also did make some strong statements in the United Nations. Basically, they were cutting us and Northern Cameroon, and they actually did reminded us of how La Republique treats its citizens, but we didn't pay heed. Our politicians, remember, most the media was not like we have it today at our fingertips, that you could have information. Information was not disseminated as much as it is. Much of our information came through radio boya that we know growing up, and then newspapers that were written. So if nobody wrote about that, we would not have really known what was happening. But here is the problem. Um, France already had its agreement with its Francophonie countries before they got independence. And they, Haijo did not just say this um, out of his own accord. Haijo was given information to present. And remind you, in the 19, I think before even the Germans were kicked out, they had already discovered oil in that Gulf of Guinea base. So they knew the resources that were there. It was just only a matter of time before they would have to start join rigs and then start extracting and processing. So, but what really had happened was the fact that they made that kind of a statement, not because Haijo wanted, mind you, remember when they went to Fumban, who were the people giving documents to Haijo and the others to read? It was their French um, people, or let me call it the French administrators that were present at that meeting. That is one thing. So we know that all of this was orchestrated in the background. Haijo was just the face. But there is something else. And I think we have to really look at this carefully, because they prematurely destroyed our institutions, our parliament. We never came to the point where we ratified anything with La République to have a joint nation. So they took another route, a thievery behind, so that Haijo would look like he did not lie in the United Nations by doing what so-called, I don't know what I should call it, referendum, because it was not really a referendum, the we and yes ballot of 1972 claiming reunification. If justly it had to be done, it would not have had to be given to the majority of the other party. It would have had to be given but to us, the minority, because we were literally the minority in number and size of land. We were only about 20%. So we would have been the ones to be asked if we want a total reunification, and then we write that treaty out after our parliament would have gone through that, and then and deliberated, and then ratify it, and then the premier signs it. But because they wanted to speed the process so that they would throw the cloak of that their what accord that France had, because it was remember, all this are the Hydro were just the gloves. The real hand was France in the background.
Yeah.
doing and masterminding this because they wanted to start having access to that oil basin and start rigging and start extracting the resources, not just the oil, but as many other things. We had the CDC plantation, palm oil, and so many other rich resources, and the Santa Estate coffee plantation, the WADA, the Womb Area Development area. There was a lot of riches in our land.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just, so they wanted to expedite their assimilation. So they went this
Mm-hmm.
route. And in
Right.
so doing, they failed. First of all, by killing our institution, closing it down, and claiming that it was too expensive to maintain it. We maintained it. Why did it become only expensive for them to maintain um, it when they wanted to assimilate us? We never were asking them for money. Rather, they were taking taxes from us and carrying it over to their own region. But we fast forward. Bia now was the one to nail the put the. We were already in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Bia was to nail the coffin and bury it.
Short. Yeah.
Unfortunately, he did it even worse. It was just from fire to fry pan to from pot to fry pan to fire that they were going.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Yaya,
Two
we can't
points I
hear you.
want. Oh, you can't hear me?
I can hear Dr. Yaya. I can hear you. Dr.
Okay.
Yaya,
Dr. Yeah, you
check
wanted
your
to say
mic.
something?
She's talking.
No, I think I started, and Mawini, of course, beefed it up.
Okay. All right. Okay. What I wanted to say is that two important points that I want to bring as a summary to this is that um, there's a document that one day I'm going to have to get Barrister Mbeisa on the program. It talks about the economic potential of West Cameroon or Southern Cameroons. This study was done by Stanford University in I think 1961. So they already have a detailed information of our potential. So rightfully so, La Republique would want us not to be able to be advanced so that we will just be
In France.
their slaves, basically. And all they need from us is our land, and we will be their slaves. That's really the take-home message. We'll continue with the program, with the president's speech. And I want to talk about the next thing that it's sensitive topic. I would not say sensitive topic. It's the topic about uh, one of our one Southern Cameroonian in Norway. I'm going to read the whole section because I think we want to talk about this. I think this particular section is very important for our people to differentiate between those who are really working hard to get us totally free and those who are doing works that are more or less what terrorists will do to keep us subjugated. So he says, "Dear comrades of resistance, we have received reports that a certain Southern Cameroonian has been arrested in Norway by the government of Norway for suspicion of committing crimes against humanity. We hope that arrest was not politically motivated. We hope that arrest was not politically motivated and that the suspect shall be judged under the Norwegian law, not Cameroonian law. That's number one. Inasmuch as we do not condone the gross acts of atrocity crimes allegedly committed by the ADF, we expect the justice system of the universal jurisdiction, like Norway, to respect the rule of law, respect the rights of all her citizens to a fair and speedy trial, and consider everyone innocent every suspect innocent until proven guilty. So let the law take its course. We know that the innocent is vindicated and the criminal only goes under where the law is corrected, where the law is, I miss what I'm reading here. They find the prints are so fine that I'm reading and skipping. Okay, we know that the innocent is vindicated and the criminal only goes under where the law is correctly interpreted without fear or favor. Norway is not a banana republic. Therefore, let me use this opportunity to also remind the Justice Minister of Norway that we, the government, and people of Southern Cameroon have a pending criminal complaint filed in 2019 in your courts against 98 genocide and war crime suspects in Cameroon who also traveled to and from Norway. You will do greater justice to humanity by picking up our complaint for investigation also. So this is really a big paragraph that covers a lot. Dr. Ya, you want to start and talk to us what you feel about this particular issue? And then Winnie, I'm going to even ask you a specific question because you have some more detailed information about this that you and I have experienced. But go ahead, Dr. Ya.
Oh, tough one. Yes. I think here again, I really saw great leadership skills in our president, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. He addressed the international community. I think you didn't read, or maybe that's a different paragraph on the Ukraine war, stating that me paraphrasing, what is good for Ukraine is also good for Ambazonia. So Amazonian lives matter, or put it differently, the conflict, the ongoing conflict in our territory also deserves the international attention that the Ukraine war and other wars are actually getting. Now, talking about the said arrest, I was quite impressed with the president's approach. My understanding is that he's putting the Norwegian justice system to a test, or challenging them to actually defend what they seem to stand for. Actually, clearly stating the difference between a said, civilized system of justice like Norway. Why is my camera off? Is my camera off?
No, I can
Okay.
see you.
Ah, okay. It seems frozen from my end. Anyway, stating that it is not a banana republic. Of course, in contrast to La République, which we know is a banana republic, there's no rule of law. It is the powerful, the rich, and the elites that have it, and they trample upon the lowly and the vulnerable of the society. So he clearly sets that scene, and is telling them to actually exercise justice as they preach it to us. And stating, I'm sure what he's quoting there is the system of law, the common law, which was the custom of the Southern Cameroons. You can accuse someone, but it is incumbent upon you to actually prove them guilty. So, well, in a nutshell, he's telling them, follow your system of justice, and it has to be fair and speedy. So you don't arrest people and arbitrarily, like it happens in the Banana Republic of La République, and they are never judged, but they are tormented and even till death. I think what La République wants to hear from President Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako is that he's jubilating over the arrest of the said individual. And to their greatest dismay, that didn't happen, because President Sako is the president and the leader of this revolution, and is a level-headed man. He is a visionary leader, and he is not going to give La République that favor, because La République would like to know that there's agitation put it this way, within our camps, yeah, regardless of our differences. But we won't give them that favor. I think, at the same token, the president distances himself from any alleged accusations, and that's important to state. So we do not condone, this government does not condone with any accusations, but he says justice must be followed fairly and quickly. So I was quite impressed at that. So if La Republique was waiting to hear that we are jubilating, that's not the position of the government. The government is reminding the Norwegian justice system that they had filed, or that we had filed, about 98 cases since 2019. So if it is important to look into war crimes of a said individual, then they should look at these other 98 individuals that have already, from La République du Cameroon, we must say, that had been filed in the Norwegian justice system. So it is actually putting them to the test. Thanks.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Dr. Yaya. You really have covered a lot on this topic. And yes, you're right. The president came up with a mature perspective of this. But I want to ask you, Winnie, there's something that he said that one has to think twice and wonder why he said it. He said, "We hope that arrest was not politically motivated." And that the suspects shall be judged under Norwegian law. Why do you think that he said it was not politically motivated? What do you think was behind that?
Okay. There are so many tentacles of this octopus by him using that word. Let me start the first one. One, should it be that Mr. Bia is incapacitated or even dead, or they're having their so-called election in 2025, and there is bound to be some upheaval in La République du Cameroun? Looking at one of the so-called alleged warlords in Amazonia, that might make things even get worse. They want to keep him under check. That's one of the tentacles. The other tentacle could be, truly and honestly, they've had victims, injured victims of the crimes of humanity that are alleged that Mr. Ayaba and his proxies at the home front, and the torture and the extortion, that they truly do have evidence. I have never really seen any war that went out and came out clean, and there was nothing that even the party that wins the war you didn't have something written against them that alleged that crimes were committed against humanity. Think whether it's America in Vietnam, America in South Korea, America in the Gulf, America in Afghanistan, you always see some of this. America in Iraq, I'm saying that people that even go with the good and right intentions, with disciplined, well-trained military, they still come out, and then you start hearing some things years and maybe decades later. That is another tactical that they honestly may have had some evidence, hard evidence, that they are pursuing to use that. Next, it could have also been they want to help France and La République to manage Mr. Ayaba. Why do I say this? When they went to Canada, and it is alleged that news came from there who went, including from the Capo Daniel. They went and they started calling favor and public people that were senators started dangling some money in
Mm-hmm.
these the Cho Ayaba, and when Cho Ayaba said or Capo Daniel, they talked to Capo Daniel and he said he informed um, um, Cho Ayaba, and Cho Ayaba said no, they should come talk back to him. Prior to that day, they've already had dealings with La Republique somehow. It was not in Canada that they were going to have their first dealings, that they are looking way to go get money. So if they have been serving as La Republique's proxy to cause harm to our people and torture our people so that our people get tired and give up on the struggle for their statehood, then they know that Mr. Cho Ayaba holds a lot of their secrets that he can unveil or reveal, and that would implicate them. So that tentacle is also a potential that La Republique will prefer that let's cap him now. Let's keep him under control, because if something were to happen, and we would really like that they extradite him to La Republique rather than try him in. I don't know if there's any criminal court of justice, international criminal court of justice in La Republique, that they will be carrying a case to go put it in that their kangaroo
Fake.
court.
Kangaroo.
Yeah. Think about what happened to Naira 10. They go income, go income, go income, nothing. Then one day they've already had the sentence from the presidency and from France. So they hold a meeting, they hold their court session all the way to 5 a.m. in the night, and they say guilty, life imprisonment. Now, so there is also that they want to take him and control him. But when back to Capo Daniel, when Capo Daniel separated from Cho Ayaba, I saw the tentacles of La Republique in that separation. La Republique knew that they were working in tandem and working well together, tight. Separate the other one, and that started after they went to Canada. Then you will have two arms now you're working. And then at some point, you will be able to eliminate the one that has the most information and continue working with this while you build other connections.
Mm-hmm.
So I also see that tentacle as one of the potential tentacle that it was time for them to get rid. We saw that, we've seen that happening in the ground with the Amazonia, let me call them resistant forces. I know why I didn't say Amazonia State Army. I said resistant forces because when they started, we were not called State Army. Whether it started with the Ivomba and the others, that they would lure them and then kill them. So that is another tentacle that could have been. So there are many directions you can analyze this and go with this and see that why now? Why pick Cho Ayaba up at this time? I don't stand for crimes that people commit against a suffering people that have been subjugated for decades, and their only crime is that their independence was denied, and that they step out to protest peacefully, and then they are just massacred. So for somebody to say, I want to liberate the people, and then you are tormenting them, and you are putting more, you're putting pepper, let me use it, pepper in their injury, making it more painful. It's counterproductive to what the people want, because now you're making them get to the point where they say, we're tired of this thing. We didn't know it was gonna be this bad. If this is how it's gonna be, let us stay us under La Republique. That was one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But unfortunately, he has been snapped. However, the politics underneath is, we know that, and I trust that he will not be sent to La République du Cameroon for any
Thank you so
trial.
much, my Winnie. You really covered a lot of issues that it will take a while if we have to go through them one by one. But one thing is clear that, um, and you and I go back to the days of Team Ambazonia and to meetings that we've had with people from, with friends from that we've met in this journey together. And you remember the friend of ours who mentioned that Cho Ayaba was instrumental in kidnapping her brother,
Yes,
and
and the wife.
she had and she picked up the phone and called him to ask that he be released. So these are things that have been happening. That uh, the president did not say that he's happy that he's been arrested. The president was very um, politically savvy. But somebody like me,
Mhm.
as a mother, I would say openly that I'm happy that he was arrested, because it's really been a pain. He has terrorized our people for such a long time. And I really take offense at some people that we know, Mawini, in the in the
Mhm.
in the sphere of Timambazunia, that were not really publicly denouncing what this guy was doing. They instead found themselves going closer to him. I'm talking about Abdul Karim, who is already locked up, but he was such a staunch supporter of this guy, knowing all the ills, all the atrocities that this guy was committed. I'm talking about the other so-called leaders, Kwanga, Bo Herbert, um, other members of Team Ambazonia way back would not come out and denounce what this guy was doing. You know, that really baffled me and really made me understand that these people were just for themselves and not really for our people. Um, I think Dr. Yaya is still frozen. Hopefully, she can join us and comment on the next phase of the president's speech. Let me move on now to another section of the president's speech, and this is the talk about unity. You know, um, no, first of all, they talk about who to trust and who not to trust. So I'm going to read the section because sometimes it's difficult to just select. I'm going to read the section, and then the next part will be about the talk about unity. So, dear warriors, do not be discouraged by some corrupt few hired to discourage you. Welcome back, Dr. Yaya. I'm reading the next section now. So, dear hard warriors, do not be discouraged by some corrupt few hired to discourage you. Do not be discouraged by some who have given up or broken their focus. Do not listen to some who may sound sincere to you, but are themselves deceived just because they cannot separate truth from lies. At this stage of our struggle, choose your friends carefully. Don't allow them to choose you. A companion of fools shall be destroyed. Many are very loud, very negative, always castigating and blackmailing those who are actually fighting for Amazonia. They lack, they talk with great passion, but they don't mean well, and they are liars or manipulators. Even if you were an angel, if they disagree with you, they will frame you up as a monster, as an agent of La Republic. They want their enemies to be your enemy also, else you become their enemies too. Be careful not to get entangled in cliques, to fight not for what is good for Amazonia, but for what is convenient for their cliques. There is there is a war we all decided to fight and win it. It's not the war against fellow patriots. We should not be defined by our mistakes. We should be defined by what we stood for. I'll end here. So this is like an advice that he's giving us that are working together in this journey. Dr. Yaya, I don't know if you heard me read it. Are you able to comment on this particular section?
Yeah, yes, I did. I got part of it. Yeah, I think, of course, the president is also a counselor. So he's like every struggle or any gathering or any grouping that has to do with human beings. There's bound to be discord. There's bound to be misunderstandings, disagreements, and all of that. So he's just giving us some guidelines on how to manage ourselves, be it at the level of the diaspora cooperating with each other, each person playing their role, be it working on who can be easily manipulated by due pressure or by money or financial gains. So I just see it as general advice that everyone can benefit from, to actually make sure that we are not tricked into uh, creating more divisions amongst ourselves, and rather, focusing on the common goal, which is to free our nation, Amazonia.
Thank you so much. Ma Winnie, your take on that paragraph of the president's speech.
I told my husband when I listened to that, and I said, you know, this is an advice that ranges from little petty conflicts all the way to coup plotters that have happened, all the
Yeah.
way to those big conflicts. So, at whether it's at a minor level, one on one, or it's at a big level trying to destroy individuals working within the struggle, that at any point you can fit anyone in there and get that advice, like Ma Yaya just said. Don't worry, I'll have to be calling ourselves Ma's here because we feel more comfortable that way, and that's our
Yeah.
respect. um, it is really, if you look at the struggle, we started with big enthusiasm in 2016 early and 17, and the crowd was big and everybody was going, and it seemed like that's in the days money was flowing. The Tabenyans were seeing this money come into the account, and it was like this. And my trip to Boya came, people flooded money. I'm just looking at the nice days that we were all, and then APNC came and the SWAT started going through, and then bam, and then we had that. Look, the president is saying we all have one enemy. Really, our enemy is not each other.
Mhm.
It is the person who stole and tried to assimilate us and steal away our birthright, our identity, our statehood. Those are the real enemies of Amazonia. Don't let personal aggrandizement, personal looking for power, personal looking for financial gain, or must be heard, has to be the only one to speak, has to be the only one whose voice has the last say, or don't let those people define the purpose for this struggle for you as an individual. No, the the purpose and the goal is bigger than each one of us as an individual. Even if La Republique would take all their wealth and give you this one individual, which they will never do, they will promise you and not deliver. Even if they took all the wealth of La Republique and gave you prime minister and gave you be the president of La République du Cameroon, it's not worth it to betray the struggle and to blackmail people because There is something about them you don't like. Let preferences also not be what we will use as a sword at our brothers and our sisters in the back. Don't use your preferences. And also, on the flip side of that coin, if somebody is coming to you and it's always negative, 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 talking ill about others, talking ill and trying to pull people down, be it rightly or unjustly, don't listen to those people without analyzing.
I'm
No
frozen
matter
again.
how close they have been within the government setting, where are the Chris Arnolds, who everybody knew like Mr. Anchorman? Where is the Dr. Abongwa, who were very close? Where are they today? Where are the
Right.
people before the scoops in South Africa? We had been
Right.
together, but the vision gets fine-tuned, and only a few keep seeing that vision and they keep following that vision for the sake of the statehood. Don't destroy those who are holding the torch as we are finding our way to Boya. Don't knock off the lantern in their hands, and don't stab them in the back so they fall and nobody is there to pick up that lantern and continue. I am paraphrasing
Absolutely.
and giving my own
Yeah.
advice as well.
Well said, ladies. Well said. And then I'm going to go to a section that is some almost the opposite of what he said. They talk about unity and collaboration. But before I read that section, I personally, I just sometimes my husband say you have so much wishful thinking. There are times that I just sit and dream. I say, I wish things were just going to be like they were in the beginning, where we had everybody on board. Just what you just described, when we had all the Tabanyans and the Mariantas and all the ladies that we had, you know, I mean, it's just we've lost so many people. And I wonder if these people, all these individuals that are on the wayside now, whether they were truly for our cause and will somehow come back, or if they were just not uh, visionary enough to stay the course and were just there to see where it leads them. I really wonder. But let me read this section because it's kind of a little bit opposite. And this is talking, it has to do with unity and collaboration. It says, do not be distracted by hollow calls for unity by some who do not mean what they preach and do not preach what they mean. The words unity and collaboration mean several things to different people. Our revolution is not the first of its kind. There is no record in history to buttress the fact that all the forces in a liberation movement must become one before victory happens. You cannot unite two people with opposite views except through compromise. Such compromise that would mean one must drop his or her position. How do you unite or collaborate with those who have stopped fighting and those who are still fighting? How do you unite or collaborate with those who have eaten bribes with those who have not? How do you unite or collaborate with those who are killing children with those who are empowering children? How do you unite or collaborate with those going to the north and those going to the south? How do you unite or collaborate with organized crime and liberation forces? So I need you guys to just, you know, talk a little bit about this, because in the previous phrase, we're talking about fighting each other, but then this solution of unity and collaboration seems impossible under these circumstances. Dr. Yeah, I'll start with you and then Ma Winnie.
Thank you again, Mape. Yes, I think the president was quite explicit on that. And that was interesting, saying that unity and collaboration mean different things to different people. And these words or phrases have been misused or manipulated or used to manipulate the minds of people. Because as humans, we are flesh beings. You know, we feel pain, and we would like to surrender. In the ideal situation, we would want to say, "Oh, it has been 8 years, and I'm tired," and that sort of thing. So um, people would easily fall for the call for unity because they see or they believe or at least they think that that's an easy way out, an easy exit, from the suffering. But what they forget, and which is why it's so important that we keep on reminding ourselves, educating ourselves on why we even got here, you know, to focus on the enemy and not the process that the enemy created for us, you know, in a bid to have the means of, I mean, with the least resistance. So the president has actually cited a few scenarios. How do you unite? Let's even say we were to unite. And he first of all started by saying that in history and looking probably at other revolutions or struggles, we have had, the principal actors and or the players, and we've had factions or different groups. South Africa, we lived that. We saw those on TV, and probably many different revolutions as well. So ours is not different. So those who cry and manipulate the minds of people by using the word unity, which is a catchphrase, but they don't really mean what they say because we don't have a common denomination. If we have to unite, then there must be something that we share in common. If one person is talking about or chewing their lips and not quite, sure whether he wants to stick with La République in a federation or that never was anyway, or a one Cameroon, where is our common
Unity.
denomination? What are we uniting on? Just because we come from
Right.
the same region, it makes no sense. So if we are in a Njangi group, what makes us Njangi members? Because we align with the goals of the Njangi group. So the Njangi group says each member must pay $1,000. Then that's the rule. It must be respected. Um, so now, I don't know if that's a very good example. How can we unite? Like the president cited those things. When one person is moving north, the one is going to Douala or Yaoundé, and we are going to Buea. So where is the meeting point? So, and to those calling out, for unity and collaboration, let them not forget that this same government has stretched its arms so many times, opened its arms, and was slapped in the face. I'm sure you ladies will talk better. You've been members of Team Ambazonia, and the different other platforms that could have been taken advantage of as a unitary platform to see how we can forge on. But their hidden agenda was to kick out President Sako. So they used the word unity, but by now, 8 years down the line, we're very happy that our people are exposed, they are educated, they are enlightened to know just the use of words and lies from actually someone being concrete. And I must say, if they really want to unite, we have a common ground, we have a common denominator. That's our LGAs. They should fall behind your LGAs because you cannot refuse that you're from the soil extraction, for example, or from Momo or from Mezan. So that doesn't change. If they really want to unite, let them fall back under their LGAs and counties and they foster the war that way. Thank you.
Great, 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 great analysis, Dr. Yaya. Thank you so much. Ma Winnie.
Uh, it's funny how people twist and use the word collaboration and unity to play politics and do a blame and to shame and to
Yeah.
expose somebody who is focused are going to Boya and say that the reason this journey is too long is because you are not collaborating and we are not unified. We cannot speak to the international community in one united voice or La République claim, because literally they have taken they are amplifying the complaint of La République and say there are so many groups and factions. We don't know who to talk to. So literally, they have taken the bait and the hook. And so now they are speaking La République's language without realizing it. But there is one other thing that we should look at this whole issue of unity. We have a unified purpose. It's to go to Boya. And if you genuinely are going to Boya, you will not be talking with La République at the corner and collecting some things from La République and then coming back now to act as a spy within the Amazonian struggle and then carrying information to aid and abet La République du Cameroon to, to thwart our cause. It's already too late for that. The cat is out of the bag. The only way La République can do that is control all the media in the world, control all the banks of the entire world, control all the politicians, and let them give golden statute to all the politicians that matter in the world. That's the only way. Every nation, every country, go give them golden statue like they've been doing. Then they can corrupt everybody, and then they can squash what is rightly ours. But it's not going to happen. God is not going to let that. So back to collaboration. You collaborate with somebody on a particular thing that you want to do. It does not necessarily mean that in collaborating with that person, let's explain that word, you remain united all the time. You become one unit. You can collaborate and do something. For example, my patients, let's say you have a farm that you have different plots, and you think that, and you belong to a cooperative that sells vegetables, that people bring their vegetable, but you have this big land. You can collaborate with many farmers and partition that your property and say, hey, this is a lot for cabbages, this is a lot for carrots, this is the one for tomatoes, this is the one for country jamanjama, this is the one for green, this is the one for whatever. And so, and you know that you don't have the strength or the time to be able to plant all that, or have even the expertise to grow all those different variety of vegetables. So you can now decide and say, hey, I want to collaborate with people who are experts in cabbage, carrots, peas, beans, or whatever, green jama, and you can rent out partition. You can partition and rent out that lot to them so that they can now plant that, and then you can all have the variety of the different vegetables that you want to have in your cooperative as produce to sell. That's collaboration, but you ultimately, you are the owner of that lot. You are the owner of that. And today you may have one tenant that is growing cabbage, and next year you want to rotate the crop, and you have somebody that needs to grow something else, but that person, cabbage person, may be out, and you will have a squash person that year. So that is collaboration, but you remain still in control of your ultimate goal. Unity, it means unity. A good example of unity is marriage. When you get married,
They
the
become
two
one.
become one. Yes. That's unity. 91, I like Pan Molanjo Litibi. If you say the one between Njumba
Juba.
and no marriage certificate, no day. So we have no marriage certificate with La Republique. So what La Republique is doing,
Get prenup.
some of our brothers have learned that process well from La Republique, and they want to destroy the struggle by coming and pretending that they are really for this, but they want to do Jumba thing for whatever money. Because sometimes Jumba married been indirectly in a prostitution. Sometimes that's how it ends up. You call it Jumba marriage, but it's really for whatever profit person is gaining, but somebody gains more than the other. However, what are we saying here? Unity is belonging. Like if you want to come and you be unified, there is a government. That government is being led now by President Sako. There's no guarantee that 5 years from now he will still be president, because he can choose to step down, and we Amazonians will look for another president and put him into that office. Go to your LGA, that's the grassroots. When we went to Berlin, we had we put these structures in place to help us govern ourselves. So even when you see factions, let me call them factions, the factions have only helped to embolden La Republique, because some of them, I will call some of them prodigal sons. And then we also have the elder son who is in the house but unhappy in the house. And you have the prodigal son that went out very angry. But at least, hopefully, one day you were asking, hopefully, your wishful thinking will be the prodigal son will come back to themselves and to
Exactly. Wishful
themselves
thinking.
and their senses and come back home.
Yeah.
And maybe that will help the elder son that is in the house that thought that they had not gone and they deserve better, but they are angry inside the house to realign their goals, their aspiration, and work for the betterment of the entire community and the people. Let's look at it, give it whatever. If you look, a lot of our struggle um, glitches have happened, but in the diaspora, yes, we have fighters. When you're a fighter, there are things that will happen and the fighting. The people were just thrust into war. They did not prepare. They did not know how to organize themselves, but they've been resisting for 8 years. But the diaspora are the ones that are creating the real havoc with all these skirmishes, split here, betray here, stab here. And when they do that, they have not smelled blood. They have not buried one of their own that was gunned down by La Republique. And some of them help to give little money there, and deceive some of these genuine boys who want to stay their course and go to Boya. My advice, you're better off just go Shidon you. Not even Shidon for fence. Just go Shidon no, so you not be part. The one who don't reach Boya. You can't say, okay, I wasn't part, but I want to be part of this community. Then the people then now in Boya will know what to tell you to do to fix it.
Thank you so much. You know, I was just talking, Winnie. I'm thinking about the popular Unity Warriors. When this phrase came, Unity Warriors, what did it end up leading to? We lost a lot of our sons and daughters because of the so-called invention of Unity Warriors. Because, as you really said, there's nothing like real unity. It's like a husband and wife. But in this case, it was a ploy to really get our sons and daughters killed uh, to the benefit of La République du Cameroon. I will also say, without fear or favor, that in the days of Team Amazonia, if all those groups that were the component of Team Amazonia, I'll remind them, I'll just have to remind people, we're talking about AIPC, Africans People Liberation Movement, APLM, and SOCADEV, Federation of Southern Cameroon's Women Organization, FSCWO, who nobody ever knew really about them. Then, of course, the interim government at that time, Maurice, Rwanda, Republic of Ambazonia Nationalists, Southern Cameroon's Congress of Peoples, COPE, Southern Cameroon's National Council, SCNC, the Republic of Ambazonia, Rwanda, and the Republic on Southern Cameroon's Restoration Movement, SCAM. If all these groups and their leaders had just entrusted this vision into President Sako's hand, so that we are together, but we want you to be the primary leader. We'll work together. I really believe that we would have been in Boya by now. I really believe we would have been in Boya, because all this talk about not knowing who to talk to would have been one body. So that was a missed opportunity. And whenever I think about it, I'm really so disappointed at those so-called leaders that have just disappeared. You don't hear about them anymore. You don't hear about them anymore. Anyway, let's move on. There's another part that I'd like to read. It's getting late. I want us to talk about this part because I think it's very important. I'm going to read it. So I'd like you guys to pay attention, because this is like where we are going to, what is going to happen. So let me read this section, and then I'd like you guys to talk about it, because it was really smart of the president bringing this in. My dear country people, now we are closer to the end of this journey than when we started. This war has been won spiritually and mentally. Even our adversary knows that. The finals shall play sooner than later. It will surely happen sooner than later, either by the surrender of the occupier, a coup d'etat in La République du Cameroun, a civil war situation between political factions within La République du Cameroun, by a certain foreign intervention orchestrated by the geopolitical shifts in the region, or a comprehensive negotiated settlement between Southern Cameroon and Cameroon. There are 4 catalysts at work: the death or disappearance of Paul Biya, our resolve to keep the flames burning politically, to keep the flames burning, political, financial, or military upheavals in Yaoundé, and the behavior of international players. Amongst the 4, the number 1 should be our resolve to keep fighting. This paragraph is donated with so much information. I just want you to talk about it, and then I will talk about one more thing, and then we'll end the program today. Dr. Ya, I went through it hoping that you would like to pick up on some very important aspect, and then Winnie, you go ahead and talk about what you think also.
Oh my goodness, sorry. I think I was kind of daydreaming since, well, that's okay with the time here. Yeah, the president is talking about our end game, getting close to our target, and, laying out the different possible options that could be at the table. I think it's quite hopeful to know that he believes that we'll get there sooner than later, and that's my deep, personal feeling as well. Anyway, without going too much, our amber colors, of course, our flag is the blue white, which is the prominent colors, and then you have the gold yellow as the accessory. I was told, I always saw it as blue, white, yellow anyway, or gold. Mm-hmm. But this time around, I had that strong feeling of putting on the yellow or the gold, because to me the message was, there's sunrise. We are waking up to sunrise, from the Boya Mountain, and I deeply, deeply, deeply believe in that. So this is hope. It's a message of hope to all of us. Those who are weary, those who are tired, those who are disillusioned, those who think it's too long. There are all signs from all angles, physically, diplomatically, spiritually, that actually we've won this war. It's a question now of consolidating. So it's good news for me. So I just want to use this opportunity to tell those who are still hanging outside, be thinking of where you will
Yeah.
be when we get to Boya. Yes, don't say my sister, my brother, my uncle was there. No, no, no. There shall be accountability. I will not know you. I will say, did you do this or did you not? And follow the law. As simple as that. So this is your chance to jump in and let's do some work, because we need a lot of work as far as nation building is concerned. It can be your human resources, your professional know-how. Start to do something. Join the system, join the moving wheel, because this wheel is moving to Boya. Remember, Mr. Bia declared his war and thought it was going to be 2 weeks. So those who keep saying, oh yeah, this one it is too drag, this is this. The way to look at it is it was supposed to end in 2 weeks. But think about it. An unprepared, in fact, it's not even an army, an unprepared people taken by surprise in an armed struggle, and we have resisted for 8 years and making the enemy to go on his knees economically and politically. They are in shackles. Is that not victory? There are different ways to assess victory and success. So those who are sitting there and still thinking that, oh, it has to be in a certain way, we have to maybe run with a white horse into Yaoundé before we declare victory. This is your last window. I'm just saying this because I have so many personal people who are not in the struggle, and I just wonder what they will be thinking when we get to Boya. So please, this is a time, do something. There's a lot you can do. If you don't want to get involved in any other thing, we have prisoners who need food. We have refugees who need shelter. They need schooling. They need farming. So come on, join the bandwagon. We're definitely, I am in Boya already, in Bogo Square.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, Dr. Yeah, those friends and family, they will run ahead of you. They will beat you in line, and they
I
will be in
know,
front.
they're doing business, isn't it? They're living their lives and investing and all of that. We are putting our little resources in the struggle, and we look like stupid people. But hey, there shall be some fairness. There will be fair play when we get back home. Yeah.
Yeah,
Equity.
Ma Winnie, you listen to what I read, and what is
Yes.
your take in
The
in those? Yeah.
the fourth scenario, one, time will catch up with Mr. Beer by his age. Yes, and when that happens, there will be destabilization in La République. Let me pause here and say something that has been unique to Francophonie countries. So our people should read the handwriting when it comes on the wall. Um, Whenever a Francophonie president dies, African, when I say Francophonie, I mean the African, um, a head of
Heads of
state in
states.
an African, French speaking African country. Whenever they die, most of them go in France. The French government kind of covers it, sometimes months, even up to 9 months, and then they play the game of trying to play their chess to know who is going to take over that will serve their interests. And they play it so well so that by the time they're announcing that funeral and having that whatever the state funeral for that former head of state, they've already put somebody on their throne who will serve their interests. So
Right.
when I start seeing former French presidents saying they are going to Cameroon for economic trip, now because be carry people go China. Or is it because beer is quarter to grape and you people are
Or
trying to
maybe
play your, yeah, or even if maybe he's gone, even who knows? I don't want to claim I know. I don't, because many people have projected that. But when you start going and maybe you see no head of state, but you say you're carrying economic people, former French president carrying people to go to Cameroon for economic reasons, two things: they feel threatened, or Mr. Bia is about to die or is dead, and so they are going to work. When they started putting a military ambassador in Yaoundé at the French embassy, it was all to prepare, because they knew Mr. Bia's days are numbered. Even if Mr. Bia lived for 120 years, he did 90 something. Now only 25 more years now, or 20 something more years. But
Winnie, not to
no, no,
interrupt
I'm
you.
saying
If
that. No, let me give.
sorry,
I'm
not
giving him the benefit of the doubt. Say even if he believed for being 120 years like Moses, eh? So guess
He
what
go
will
still, he
happen?
go still die.
The man, yes, he will still die. So they are playing the chess of how they will, whether his son they want to put, or they find another strong person that is really strong by oppressing even the citizens of La Republique, but serving their interests.
Yeah.
So we should know that. So that was scenario number one. They know that there will be chaos because Biya has destroyed the institutions of Cameroon. Because if you ask Cameroonian, they say Biya na law. Biya is itself na law. How can a person be the law? So he is the constitution. How can a person naive Jesus Christ? So he has ascribed powers and things that he can change bid and then get people to rubber stamp something and claim, pretend like he's doing something seriously, but he's already doing what he wants to do. So if that happens, there will be chaos in that country. Whether na Nordis or na Bamelekes or na Wato, there will be chaos when he dies. So the other way they may want to find is pretend that this election, and they turn the gear for the person that they want. I don't want to call names here to promote and give free advertisement for somebody as a candidate. Then scenario number two, we continue to put pressure until they are economically sucked dry to the point that not only the impact to them mentally, psychologically, financially, and even so that even their own military people have no desire. They start refuse. They don't want to fight anymore.
Right.
And then we deny them the victory. Or somebody just woke up, recognize we, and give we give, and they woke up even for inside United Nations say, we recognize this nation.
Exactly.
On this day in 1961, they got independence. We need them to have their seat here. It will create it will be an uproar, but it has to happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Right.
Or the other one is like they say, the international community, and say we're tired of this chaos, and they start realizing that it's obstructing some businesses that they want to do, investments that they want to do, and they say they put pressure and say let's go. Or they see the humanitarian losses and economic losses, and because the Gulf, that strategic, and they cannot move forward. Or as they see Russia gets into some areas there, then they want to stabilize this. So I'm using now, this is the world power, the West and the and I don't know what to call them, East, West and East. It's not really them, it's just some power. So if they start seeing that playing, they may want a quick resolution. So they may force the parties to the table. But at that point, if they are trying to force the parties to the table, they will be dictating how the terms of what and how they want it resolved. So we
Yeah.
pray that God will give us favor with a nation that has conscience, and they will be able to stand up and recognize us. So, with all this being said, time is short because the number happen faster than any of the other ones. And when number one happens and there is chaos, they will be begging to go to negotiation table. That time, somebody will try to go to resolve the problem in La Republique, but they cannot resolve it without untangling and resolving the issue with Amazonia.
And that's why it's so important for us to maintain our resolve and keep fighting, no matter what. Dr. Yeah, you were supposed to say, you wanted to say something briefly when
No, no,
Mawini
I
was
just when Mawini said, Mr. Bia, no matter how, even if he will live like Methuselah, I think he won't live more than 120. He himself predicted his death in 2024. I think that was 2004 when he said, "Oh, they said he's dead." That 20 more years. So this is 2024. So he's prophesied his own death. Let's see. Yeah.
Yes, let's see. Yeah. But again, to the people of La République du Cameroon, if they watch this program, if you have your president that you don't see your president for months and months and months, what are you thinking? Who is really taking care of you? Who is ruling your country? You know, your president is supposed to be the president. He never comes to address you. He disappears for 6, 7 months. You know something is wrong, right? You know something is
Forget those
wrong.
people. You, that's a kind of worms. Those are people that they're comfortable with that lifestyle. They hate resistance. They just like Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Directeur, and so on and so forth. That's their comfort. Now they're cocky Minnesota, you know.
Okay, so I'm going to be getting the last part here right now as we wind
Yeah,
down, and then I'm going
yeah.
to talk briefly why we are
Morning.
wearing pink today. So there was a section that the president addressed the prisoners, the refugees, and the IDPs, and this goes without saying. I don't really need to read this, but he appealed for everyone to support the Department of Health and Human Services and to support the Department of Women's Services, because through this department we're able to give some sort of assistance to our people that are suffering, and every little counts. So the Christmas season is around the corner. That is a time that we really need to be able to reach out to these individuals. We have Be an Angel Christmas Fund Drive on the way. So this is an announcement to you to just listen to the president's speech and reach out to the departments to give your own assistance. Let me read this paragraph that has to do with the international community as we conclude the program. Says, our message of self-determination and freedom has resonated with many, and we are confident that the tide of public opinion is shifting in our favor. As the situation in Ukraine has shown, what is good for one nation can be good for another, and what is wrong in one place can be wrong in another. We are not alone in our struggle, and we will continue to draw parallels between our cause and the struggle of other nations. Mawini, what do you want to talk about this as we conclude? Because we're talking about the international perspective of this, why this, whatever is happening between Ukraine and Russia, is a blessing in disguise for Amazonia. So when you comment about this, then we'll talk briefly about
Our
uh,
pink,
our 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 our,
our pink attire.
hair today, our pinkness, and then we'll conclude the program.
You know, the West has not been happy that Russia wants to annex Ukraine. They have given a deaf, or they've turned their eyes and look elsewhere. It was annexing Amazonia. And because war was declared, mind you, that war Mr. Biya did not really declare war on us. It was France that declared war on us. You know how I know that? Biya was shaken when his BI arrows, when some of them started falling. And then there was this Francophonie meeting, and he quickly ran there because Macron had just come to power. And Macron was holding this meeting. I think, I don't know if it was Ivory Coast or where they
Ivory
went for
Coast,
that meeting,
yeah.
but I mean, he went there. Instead of staying in that meeting, he went there, had a consult with Macron, then turned around, came back at the tarmac at the Simalang airport. He announced and declared war. Why did he not declare the war before he left? He all what had happened. So it
Yes.
made us, we are not fools, we are not children that cannot read between the lines. He went and Macron, and you can see that even with the Sahel regions that are there, how France has been trying to make it difficult for the Sahel regions to really have what they call independent of themselves and move on the way they want to move. Let me leave that to by the side. So when Biya declared that war, he was the mouthpiece to declare the war because they felt like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, it was gonna be crash.
For 3 months.
But unfortunately, 2 weeks now, na 8 years or na
Almost
7 years
3 years.
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that telling Macron? Macron, just like you be send Biya say may go declare war, call Biya send him say may go negotiate.
That's right.
Because um the negotiation will help us. So back to Ukraine Russia war. It opens that it brought us to some level, but not a lot of international publicity. The reason I say that is because remember how we were able to do some social media outings where we talk. We had the lady when we had the programs that we had, and with that was from Ukraine. Who one of her parents was Ukrainian, the other one was Russian, and
Russian.
it really put a face, flesh of how war is, how it impacts people, and you can be on of both sides. And so using the Ukraine war, not that it was good for Ukraine to have war or to be annexed. But remember that Ukrainian thing started in 2014 when Crimea was annexed by Russia, and slowly, and they wanted to keep nipping and taking more and until Russia decided to go full scale war because they think they could take. The Republic, same thing to us, so I can see those parallels. The Republic thinking that they are big, they could assimilate. Now they not be assimilate. We don't talk too much. Then now they want to crush us so that they will say they conquer us in war, and then we have to be subservient. Um, but it also allowed because it gave us some voice to say why why do you pay more attention to Ukraine and you neglect other wars of other parts of the world, including
Absolutely.
Amazonia? It gave
Yeah.
us that voice to be able to say, hey, it's happening to Ukrainians, but we've been going through this too.
Yeah.
And of course, you and I know the impact of that, and that has been able to give us TPS in Cameroon, to have TPS because it's attached with that Ukrainian scenario. And so the TPS gets renewed every time because people only see Ukrainian. Majority of Americans don't know African history, don't know African map, and so they don't even understand what is happening because the media does not report on those things. The Western media doesn't report, or
Yeah.
neither does the Eastern media.
Yeah. So,
That's how it
in
is.
conclusion, Thank you so much, Mawini. In conclusion, this war between Russia and Ukraine, it's really a blessing for Amazonia because we'll always use that to make sure that our situation is heard. We'll always use that to make sure that we also get justice for our people, get the freedom that we rightfully deserve. We're going to conclude this program by just announcing that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we will continue this conversation in the subsequent Fridays. And Breast Cancer Month is also the month that we wear pink. Hence, our ladies have pink on today because we realize that breast cancer is something that affects every family. I don't think there's any family that has not been impacted by breast cancer one way or the other, either by a direct somebody or a relative. So we want to talk about this topic next time. Um, I'd like both of you to just give your closing remarks, what you want to talk about breast cancer or what we've talked about. Just give your closing remarks and we'll end the program today. And I want to appreciate both of you for always being on the horizon and showing our people that we care. We are here because they are there, and we thank them for always listening to us. Now, Mawini, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Let me say thank you for listening and hearing and analyzing our president's speech. But one thing I just want to remind you, the reason we can be on this platform and we can be talking is because you guys made it possible for us to be here. You guys on the home front help us to galvanize what we are doing now in diaspora to champion the cause so that we can be your voices um, in the diaspora, and we can shout from the rooftop the issues that affect us, the injustice that was meted against us as a people in the international marketplace, political platform, or stage. You guys allowed us to be able and gave us that and supported us and gave us that authority to be your voices, to be heard. Likewise, even the refugees, the prisoners, all of you are the ones and the reason why we are here. If you guys stop it tomorrow, literally, you we will go back to being the little voices like in the days when we had the Pamolanjo, Little the NCNC, the scam, the whatever groups that were barely just holding the little candle to keep the hope of Amazonia becoming a full nation of Gojidinka, His Royal Highness Gojidinka. So, because everybody now had the awareness, you now empowered us. We thank you for doing that, and we pray and we continue to pray for you, and you pray for us that God will give us the right open doors as we press through into reaching and reminding the world that we got independence in 1961, October 1st, but we've not been able to enjoy this independence because we've been oppressed for all this while. And annexation was the ultimate goal. That's why La Republique never voted for us to have independence. Mark you that. Remember that. La Republique voted against us being independent.
That's right.
So I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind all our sisters, come listen to Horizon the next few weeks as we talk about breast cancer and as we talk about just simple things that we can do to check ourselves and help ourselves, and the kinds of checks that we want to carry out that may help you if you're in a position or if you notice certain things, what you can do about it.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, ma'am.
Mawini. Thank you, Dr. Yaya.
So thank you, Mape. Thank you, our fellow viewers and sympathizers and Amazonia. Our freedom, our restoration is a certainty. So I just wanted to highlight this. We've listed a few options how we could possibly get to Boya quicker, sooner than later. I just want to remind ourselves that this doesn't mean that we should relax and say, oh, the president said maybe this, maybe that, therefore Pobia is dead, therefore this, that, or that. No. We're sending a message to our ASA. Give it as hard as you've never done before. Resist to the core. Protect your people, because when and if we get to the negotiation table, if that's the method that God has chosen, we are better off. We're in a stronger position when the firepower is hot than when we seem to have quelled down to a position maybe of surrender. So this is not a message to slow down whatever we're doing, whatever your defense forces are telling you to do. Respect those ghost towns. They are a sign of civil disobedience and firepower till La Republique pulls out of our territory, because they invaded us. So we are not slowing down on anything until they completely withdraw from our territory. So now, moving to the next topic of breast cancer. We've heard it all. We have the whole month to talk about this. I'm just pleading to every lady, you could make little videos or short audios on breast cancer, say something or talk about a relative, and also particularly calling on breast cancer survivors or any other cancer to come up on the show. Let's talk about this so that people can have a living example, and that's quite encouraging. So thank you. We look forward to having you the next few weeks and to actually address that topic in detail. Thank you once more. Thanks, Mapi.
Thank you so much, my beautiful sisters. And as we conclude this program, I want to just end with a paragraph of the president's speech, just a short paragraph, his ending remarks. And I want to read this because it's some sort of, it's telling us.
Mapi,
Yes.
Mapi, I'm sorry, because interrupt before you do the final statement, because it might go off. Just to remind the public that the president is having a press conference tomorrow. I'm not sure about the time exactly, but tomorrow. Anyway, that
the president is having a press conference today, later on today.
Oh, today. Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Already morning.
Yeah, later on today. Yeah, not yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and read this. Go ahead to celebrate this day around the table with your children and tell the reason for this day. Tell them why we fight and why they are not Cameroonians. Recount to them names of our national heroes and pray for them that if we don't enter the promised land today, they must be ready to rise to the occasion and complete our journey. That was his last paragraph. So thank you so much, fellow Amazonians, fellow Southern Cameroonians, for being on the horizon today, the voice of the Amba woman. Till we see you next week, happy belated Independence Day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me call someone.
The silent struggle of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. A chronicle of escalating refugee crisis, human rights abuses, and global indifference. Dive into the heart-wrenching narrative of Southern Cameroon's, also known as Ambazonia, where a relentless refugee crisis and rampant human rights abuses unfold amidst a backdrop of international neglect. Explore the untold stories of resilience, despair, and the urgent need for global attention and intervention.
I want to thank our head, Mr. Sako, for the kind gesture we give we, President Sako, for we Amazonian land. Some of us we are disabled, and because of war, I lost my family, my wife, my children. I have only my grandchildren living with me. So once they make it continue to give us this lecture, because some of us we don't have means, because we get some small thing for ourselves. I don't have the strength to stand and do something with one leg.
I am appealing for humanitarian support for my people. Ambazonian refugees need our help. In a world brimming with indifference, we are compelled by duty, compassion, and an undying need for justice to raise our voices for the unheard. The plight of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonian refugees cries out for immediate action. War, displacement, and marginalization have plunged innocent lives into unfathomable suffering. Can we turn a blind eye to such human agony? In the name of our shared humanity, we must act, and we must act now.
A cry for justice and compassion, the untold sufferings in Ambazonia. While it is no news that war exacts a profound toll on societies, tearing apart communities and fracturing families. However, the conflict between the Cameroons and Ambazonia, the southern Cameroons, has been ongoing for over 8 heartbreaking years. This brutal conflict not only epitomizes devastation, leading to the displacement of over 2 million people, but it also thrusts into light a harrowing modern-day genocide.
When the sound of gunfire pierced the serene skies over southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, a thriving community was thrust into a relentless storm of chaos and despair. Decades of socio-political inequalities, marginalization, and a belligerent occupation escalated into a brutal conflict, the effects of which have reverberated far beyond the nation's borders. Innocent civilians, our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, are now faceless statistics in the stark realities of war, displaced, terrified, and forsaken.
It is sad to say that this is not just a struggle for survival, but a dire quest for basic human dignity. We have seen women and children in broad daylight, the most vulnerable pillars of every society, have been uprooted from their homes. They journeyed to far distant lands seeking refuge, but found themselves ensnared in different webs of suffering. The journey alone offers a taste of the brutality ahead. Countless souls have not only succumbed to the treacherous terrains of the Darien Gap in Southern America, but also the roasting deserts in North Africa, with some wasting in the high sea, seeking for safety and greener pastures. A harsh testament to the shared desperation driving the young men and women and youth's exodus.
The people of Ambazonia suffer under the weight of intrusion, aggression, and recolonization by French Cameroon, with little to no international intervention. It is profoundly troubling that the global community continues to turn a blind eye why this humanitarian catastrophe is being overlooked and underestimated by credible human rights organizations remains a mystery.
As healthcare professionals and political activists committed to a just, healthy, and humane world, it is incumbent upon us to demand immediate international attention to this humanitarian crisis. We call upon world governments, humanitarian organizations, and individuals of conscience to heed the cry for justice. Humanitarian aid must be mobilized to provide food, shelter, and medical care. Efforts must hinge on creating safe corridors for those in transit and fair asylum processes for those who reach host countries.
human rights reporting and underestimation of displacement figures by credible humanitarian organizations. Accurate reporting on the crisis in southern Cameroon is gravely impacted by intimidation tactics employed by the oppressive regime of Biya, leading to significant underestimation of displacement figures. While the UNHCR reports approximately 87,000 Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria as of March 2024, Ambazonian authorities, who receive daily figures from their people on the ground, assert that the actual number exceeds 400,000. This disparity underscores the severity and human cost of the situation. The challenges do not end with reporting inaccuracies. The Nigerian government authorities have reportedly interfered with the UNHCR processes of identifying and registering refugees, which may explain why many refugees have reported being denied registration by UNHCR representatives on the ground in Nigeria. Tragically, even those who managed to get registered have not received any support from the UNHCR for over a year now. The little aid that was initially provided was abruptly stopped without any explanation, leaving the refugees in limbo and grappling with uncertainty and despair.
Standing at the precipice of this humanitarian disaster, the world has a choice: to ignore the needs of southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, refugees, or to rally behind their quest for dignity and justice. This is our moment to rise above the noise of political rhetoric and take decisive action. Let us not allow our generation to be remembered for its willful ignorance, but for its steadfast commitment to human dignity.
Meanwhile, the French Cameroonian authorities have also reportedly interfered with and restricted the operations of human rights organizations such as Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, and even the UNHCR within Cameroon. These organizations, which champion the cause of human dignity worldwide, face obstacles that hinder their ability to provide essential aid and bear witness to the atrocities unfolding in the sub-Saharan African region.
Voices of displacement, the struggle of Ambazonian refugees in Nigeria. Life as an Ambazonian refugee in Nigeria is fraught with unimaginable hardship, with limited access to healthcare, rampant food insecurity, and scant economic opportunities. Many find themselves in a relentless struggle for survival. Despite recent efforts from humanitarian organizations and the Ambazonian government, the aid provided falls heartbreakingly short. In my 3 years of reporting on the ground, I have witnessed heart-wrenching realities: infants succumbing to hunger, young girls turning to prostitution out of desperation, and refugees driven to suicide by the sheer hopelessness of their circumstances. It is devastating to see that many would rather face the perilous journey through places like the Darien Gap than return home.
These desperate people are not so much concerned about the identity crisis because they are actually faced with an existential threat and have completely lost trust in all governments and institutions or organizations that are expected to provide urgent humanitarian assistance, as we observe in other areas where there are crises in the world, for example, in Ukraine and in the Middle East. The question then becomes, are they less of a citizen of this world? Or is this a race issue? Or is this deliberate neglect? We're therefore calling on the United Nations, and especially the UNHCR, and all other humanitarian organizations, the displaced persons, and the refugees from the southern Cameroons deserve assistance like any other people who are victims of war. We therefore call on these organizations to be fair, to be just, and to treat the refugees of the southern Cameroons with respect and dignity, because they are also children of this universe.
Over 80% of Ambazonian refugees lack adequate shelter. leaving them vulnerable to harsh weather and security threats. Alarmingly, the same number of school-aged children have no access to formal education, dimming their future prospects and continuing the vicious cycle of poverty. The gender-based violence is another grim reality, with limited protection mechanisms in place to shield these refugees from sexual assaults and domestic abuse.
In the throes of such adversity, the humanitarian spirit urges us not to overlook the plight of these displaced individuals. Accurate and transparent reporting, coupled with prioritized humanitarian assistance, is not just a logistical necessity, but a profound act of compassion. Every underreported statistic, every unassisted refugee represents a life in turmoil, a child robbed of their childhood, a family torn apart, a community devastated. The international community must respond with urgency and empathy. It is time for solidarity to transcend borders and for human compassion to drive actionable change. We must amplify the voices of the displaced, challenge the barriers to truth, and ensure that no soul is left behind in the shadows of this humanitarian crisis. Only then can we honor the intrinsic value of human life and uphold the principles of justice and equality that lie at the heart of human rights advocacy.
The Norwegian Refugee Council has shed light on one of the world's most underreported humanitarian crises, the plight of the southern Cameroons, or what they call the Anglophone crisis. The anguish faced by the Amazonian people is a heart-wrenching, and the silence surrounding their struggle is deafening. It is suggested that powerful interests, especially France's stake in the southern Cameroon's resources, could be fueling this tragic silence.
This genocidal war declared on us by the 90-year-old dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017 is raging, and our people are going through this horror in pain and in plain sight while the world watches on. This is our reality daily.
We must listen to the stories of these refugees. We must face the truths that these statistics reveal and push harder for meaningful change. We owe it to them to ensure that their voices aren't just heard but acted upon.